Hi, my name is Niklas Kunkel. I'm the founder of Chronicle, and Chronicle is an Oracle protocol that spun out of MakerDAO about 2 years ago. And so I want to kind of give you an introduction and kind of show you like how we're kind of changing the game when it comes to oracles. So, yeah, origin story, right? Slightly touched on this earlier, but essentially was part of the OG team of Maker. And when we were developing DAI, there were no oracles. So we had to make our own. And so in conjunction with the launch of Psi, which was like the prototype to DAI, in June of 2017, we launched kind of the Maker oracles. And so that today has continued into what has evolved into Chronicle protocol. And so, you know, we were securing MakerDAO since day one, and we're still securing them today. And so that makes us one of like the longest continuous running, right, most battle-tested protocols in all of crypto, right, going on 7 years and billions of dollars secured. I want to kind of talk about kind of the three kind of main areas that I think like we are kind of setting the standard for Chronicle. And those are decentralization, verifiability, and scalability. And so I'll kind of go over all of these for about a couple of minutes each. So first is a little glitchy, is kind of decentralization. And so there are a lot of different Oracle protocols, right? And they all work slightly differently. But in general, they all have a validator network. And so the like 30-second up-down like review of any Oracle you can do is just look at like, okay, does it have validators? And who are the validators, right? And what are the consensus kind of requirements? And so what we've done with Chronicle is that we have decided to use a validator network that is built by our community, right? And so what we say is that, right, as an Oracle protocol, right, maybe users don't trust us, but they should trust the. Oh, we have a little box up there.
It's normal.
Okay. What? No, that's not. Okay. What's happening here?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, no, it's good.
Okay, cool. So, right, as a user of Chronicle oracles, right, you don't have to trust Chronicle, is the point, right? You can say, oh, well, maybe you hold some DAI. Right, and so you trust Maker. Or maybe you have a Gnosis safe, and so you trust Gnosis. Or maybe you've participated in Gitcoin grants, and so you trust Gitcoin. Right, and we're not asking you to trust, right, any of these validators individually, but as a group, right, we're trying to build this like consensus of almost like the community, right, to have like a truly like community-powered Oracle. And so I'm happy to announce that this week we're onboarding 4 new validators, including ETH Global, Mantle, Bankless, and Euler. And so we're really excited to kind of have them join the Chronicle validator network, and we'll be, you know, onboarding more and more validators, you know, probably on a monthly basis going forward, right? And the goal is just that we just get a validator network of only the highest quality, right, most trusted people in crypto, such that to kind of manipulate the Oracle would be tantamount to crypto doing cannibalism on itself. So here you can kind of see, right, a list of a bunch of the validators, right, their keys, their reporting, like different data. The second factor I want to talk about is verifiability. And so this is something that I think is very unique to Chronicle. And so what we essentially allow you to do is trace where all of this data comes from. Right, so right now with oracles, they're essentially like a black box, right? It's like this fortune teller smart contract. It gives you the data, and you kind of just say, okay, I trust this contract, but you don't really have any context for where does this data come from? How was this magical, number calculated? Right, and so with Chronicle, we really allow you to dig like one level deeper, right? So you don't just see this top level of there's the oracle and that's the data that it's reporting, right? We show you like the individual validators, right? What they reported. Each of these data reports, right, is signed. So they've each generated a signature, and you can actually verify that data yourself. Now, if you expand each of these validator queries, you can even see like the exact data that they used, right, and where they got that data from and what the snapshot was, right? I think now we even show the timestamps. So it's not just, oh, Argent said, this is the price. It's Argent said this is the price because Binance said this, and Coinbase said this, and Uniswap said this. And you can verify all of this data in your browser, right? And so all of this data has been signed, and given that you know the key of the validator, right, you can prove to yourself that none of this data was tampered with. Because as soon as you change, anything in the data, right, like if you were to change the timestamp, from by 2 seconds, now the message won't verify anymore, right? And this is the same kind of verification that the smart contract does on chain, right? But now you're just able to do it yourself as a user in the browser anyway, right? To prove to yourself that not just for the current data, but all of the historical data in the past, right? That this oracle is genuine. And so the last bit that I want to talk about is scalability. And I think this is kind of not talked about enough in crypto. So the problem that you have with a lot of oracles is that from a gas perspective, they're quite expensive. And so when gas prices go up, or when the price of ETH goes up, or both, because there tends to be a good correlation between the two, what you find is that oracle prices multiply very, very quickly. And to put into perspective like how bad this can become, in 2021, makers spent around $6.5 million just on gas for updating the oracles, right? So it's a very significant problem. And so if you can reduce the gas cost per oracle update, I mean, you stand to benefit a lot, right? You can either express this as this oracle service is now cheaper, right, and therefore more accessible to more people, right? You could express it another way that could be expressed as you can update this oracle more often, right? So for the same amount of money, right, you can update the oracle, 3 times as much or 4 times as much. And that is just a more performant oracle, right? It's a more accurate oracle, right? The accuracy of an oracle is not determined by like anything like latency or like how quickly, right, this happens or that happens. No, the bottleneck is really cost, right? So if you're willing to, stomach losing a lot of money, right, you can have an oracle that updates like every block, right? But oracles don't do that, and the reason is because they're cost constrained. And so what we've managed to do actually is we came up with a new mechanism, which we call kind of optimistic schnorr. And essentially, I'll kind of gloss over this a little bit. But essentially what we do is rather than having this one-to-one relationship of like validators to signatures, which basically just means you end up having, as your validator list grows, you just end up having like a huge amount of like call data. You essentially are able to compress everything into a single signature. So Schnorr signatures are what we call like an aggregated signature. So they're similar to something like BLS signatures in that respect, but they're significantly cheaper to verify on chain than BLS signatures are. And so that stands to benefit, both on L2s and on layer 1s, because on layer 2s, cost tends to be determined by the amount of data. So in this case, you're pushing less data through an update done in this way. And versus on L1, right, you want cheaper compute. And short signatures are cheaper to compute than BLS. So just to put into like a comparison of like what the difference is here, a Chainlink validator update with like 11 validators is around 300,000 gas, more or less, right? With Pyth and Redstone, it's around 180,000, 140,000 respectively. With Chronicle, we've got this down to 66,000 gas. To compare this another way, the default Ethereum like transaction gas amount, right, just to send ETH from like one person to another, is 21,000 gas, right? So an Oracle update here has been basically compressed to the amount of like 3 ETH transfers, which is very cheap. But I think the thing to highlight here is not just the absolute gas amount, but also to point out that we can do this with much more validators than others can. So when you look at something like Chainlink or Pyth or Redstone, they have this linear relationship of the cost to update the Oracle and the number of validators that they use. With Chronicle, because we use this aggregated signature approach, and because signatures cost the same amount no matter how many to verify, no matter how many validators have signed them, right, we can essentially have the same fixed gas cost for any number of validators. And so the more validators that we use, right, the much stronger consensus guarantees you can kind of have. So that's it for me today. But I want to thank you all for coming. If what I said sounds interesting to you, you can follow us on Twitter at Chronicle Labs, or check out our website, chroniclelabs.org. Those awesome screenshots I showed you earlier from all the validators and the verification, that's on our dashboard, which you can also reach from chroniclelabs.org. And if you have any questions for me, I don't think we have time right now, but come find me afterwards. I'd love to talk to you. Thank you.